Finally, every dimension of the streets. F.E.D.S magazine. This is one of my favorites right here. I never had this issue in particular, but I did have many more. I read this magazine a lot. Wish I still had those issues because they can be pretty pricey online, but that's okay. Now sure, there's interviews in here with musicians and athletes and things like that. There's some articles, but that's not why we're here. We're here because we want the interviews with the legendary street hustlers, the drug kingpins, the gang members and murderers locked up in prison who nobody else is interviewing. Their stories are not getting out any other way other than F.E.D.S magazine. This is where it's at. These guys are talking to them and putting their stories in print. So if you like true crime stuff, you got to check this out. One issue that stuck with me was about the Best Friends gang in Detroit. Now I knew the name, I was a little bit familiar, but I never knew the whole story. And man, let me tell you, that shit was deep. They get into a little bit of the partying, making millions of dollars, things like that. But they also talk about having to kill one of their own members because they're afraid he's going to turn on them. So they end up shooting him in his sleep and killing him. And they're still afraid of him after they shot him. They're tiptoeing around his room like he's going to, wake up and attack him. That's the kind of stuff you get in F.E.D.S magazine, straight from the source. But let's jump into this issue. New York heroin kingpin, Freddie Myers, free after 24 years in prison.
You don't have to be a reader for magazine theater. Just follow along and I'll be the leader. From cover to cover and page to page, it's magazine theater. Check out the main stage.
Magazine theater.
I love the look of this. It's like a hardcore Time magazine. For a magazine about the streets, it definitely captures the vibe. This is volume 4, issue 21. Oh, volume 5, issue 21. All right. Okay, page 1. Whoa, that's a lot of ass. Got a couple letters from readers here and the most threatening unauthorized reproduction warning I've ever seen. If you copy this magazine or you bootleg it, you're going to look like this motherfucker right here. Actually, I think this is the same warning Entertainment Weekly uses. Got some ads here. Anyas Entertainment, 1 part commercial, music video, television and film production company, 1 part corporate entertainment and fashion styling company. So they do a lot of shit. You got Lazy L here. Oh, Lazy Eye maybe. Oh yeah, shit, he's got a lazy eye. Damn, he's got a MySpace page too. The songs in the ad aren't even there. I went to his MySpace page. He's got a song with Big Herc though, so that's pretty cool. Big Herc's a Detroit guy. I tried to listen to these songs, but MySpace sucks and they won't play. Then we got a short article here about Idi Amin. This guy was a real prick. Basically, he was a high-ranking military guy who put himself in power just by killing everyone. It says he killed between 350 and 500,000 civilians. That's a lot of people. And then also there's that guy from the Outlaws, with Tupac. He was on Hit 'Em Up. Idi Amin. Got his name from this guy. There is a ton of interviews in this magazine with rappers. Now, I don't remember all the other issues that I had having this many interviews like that, but I could be wrong. But there's a ton of them in here. And they don't get super deep with these guys. There's no super exclusive info, but, I'll go through and give you the highlights. Here's an interview with Raekwon from Wu-Tang. Not much here, but they do ask him where he came from. For the younger generation that may not know. Hip-hop moves so fast. This is 2006, this magazine. Had people really forgotten about Wu-Tang by then? You got Pitbull. He's a huge star now, Mr. Worldwide. Here he's still sort of breaking out. My mom likes Pitbull, so he's officially made it. If my mom knows you and likes your music, you've crossed over. You're mainstream. Got a little Scrappy. He says during a show in Florida, someone threw a bottle and hit him in the head. After that, he took a break from the business for a couple months. It must have been a hell of a bottle. Lloyd Banks from the G Unit. Not once have I seen this guy smile. He's just got a permanent mean mug. I like that F.E.D.S asks about money. They ask him what's the most he's made for a show, and he says 120 grand. That's not bad for a day's work. Gotta have Snoop Dogg in there. He's everywhere nowadays. Cooking with Martha Stewart. He's rapping about insurance with the general. He's doing it all. Looks like he's wearing the same thing as Slim Thug on the back cover here. They bring up the money again and ask Snoop, out of all the businesses he's into, which one makes him the most money? And he says, pimping a bitch. Same here, man. About 60% of my money actually comes from pimping these bitches. I swear, I've never seen this many high-profile interviews in one magazine. It just keeps on going. I'm pretty sure the game really blew up the whole face tattoo thing. It's almost a requirement now to be a rapper, but it was still pretty new back then when he was starting off. Back in the day, you need the lyrical skills, maybe some street credibility. Now you need some face tattoos and a pill habit. You're good to go. Rouse. Rick Ross. They ask Rick how he got the name Rick Ross. Since there's a Freeway Ricky Ross, that's a very famous ex-drug dealer. Now, Freeway Ricky Ross, he'll wear shirts that say the real Rick Ross is not a rapper. Now here, the rapper Rick Ross said he's never heard of the other one. So who the hell knows? He said his name was originally going to be Mike Conception, which is just a horrible name, so he made a good move there. Now the cover story, this is where F.E.D.S really shines. Full-length interviews with street hustlers, drug guys, just stories you're not going to get anywhere else. Nobody's talking to these guys. And most of these interviews are coming from people that are locked up or just got out of long-term prison sentences. So they've got nothing to lie about. They have no reason to lie. So you get the story right from the source, and you get the uncut shit. Now, I've read a lot of these interviews, but this one was new to me. I'd never heard of Freddie Myers, so I didn't really know what to expect. But it was a really good interview, and he's an interesting guy. Now, F.E.D.S sometimes brings up the debate, are they glorifying the crime and the violence? And I don't know. I mean, they do ask about living the high life, you know, what was it like, how much money were you making, how many cars did you have, things like that. And yeah, that all sounds great. Millions of dollars of jewels and cash and all this, doing whatever you want, taking trips. That all sounds great. Except, yeah, when you look on the cover here, free from prison after 24 years. So I wouldn't call that glorifying it, but I mean, they do take an honest look at it and explore all angles of that criminal lifestyle. So I won't cover every little thing in this issue, in this interview, because it is really long. But that's a good thing about it, you know. There's no sort of page limit in F.E.D.S magazine. They just do what the fuck they want. But he's an interesting guy. This is an interesting interview. If you want to dig a little deeper, you can find online the whole court report, you know, from his investigation and the trial and things like that. That's a good 60-page read, but it was really interesting. And, you know, everything he says in this magazine checks out in that report. So say what you want about the guy. He's not a bullshitter. As a young man growing up in Harlem, Freddie Myers started off as an athlete, played a bunch of sports. At the same time, he was also pickpocketing and breaking into jewelry stores, that kind of thing, like we all do. And when he's 17, he gets arrested because he's with a group of guys who robbed someone on a train. Something he didn't actually take part in, but he ends up being the only one going to jail. So there's actually a group of like 15, 16 kids. He's the only one that gets locked up. So at 17 years old, he's doing 3 years in prison for something he didn't even do. He was just with that group of people. Then he gets out, meets with his father, who happens to have a weed farm, and Pops gives him a little welcome home gift, 300 pounds of weed. Okay, that's a crazy coming home present. 300 pounds of weed? I would have retired right there. I'd be selling joints for the next 5 years. Need some gas money? Sell some joints. Groceries? Sell some joints. Child support? I'm not going to pay that. Okay, so anyways, he takes the 300 pounds of weed. He sells half, trades the other half for heroin, and that's where the shit really takes off. He has some system where he would provide the heroin and then the two chemicals that it's mixed with. It would be all pre-measured, ready to go. He's like the McDonald's of heroin. He's got franchisees now. He says if you can count to 3, you can handle this system. Jumping ahead, he's making millions of dollars. Eventually they find an address book when they arrest some guy, and it's got Freddie Myers' initials and his phone number in there. And then that's what kicks off an investigation into Freddie Myers. They link the drug dealer they arrested to him, and they start this whole thing. They eventually end up raiding his home, and seize like $3 million in cash and jewelry. They never find him with drugs. They never see him exchange drugs. The only thing they have against him is unexplained wealth. He's got a shitload of money and they're convinced it's from something illegal. So they take their case to trial and he's convicted. The only witnesses, the only testimony against him is from police officers. No civilians, no informants, nothing like that. Just the police and a bunch of circumstantial evidence. And he's sentenced to 40 years and ends up serving 24. They get into his time in prison. He said he was moved around a lot, like 10 different prisons. There's just so much here. They ask him about Frank Lucas, you know, the guy they did the movie about, American Gangster. Freddie said he tried to take Frank out because he was bringing shit in the game. And everyone knows, you can't bring shit in the game. He said he literally had a gun out, ready to shoot him, but someone jumped on him and stopped him. There's just a ton more here. If you're really interested in reading more, I'll put the links in the description, and you can check out some of the stuff that I saw. And if you really want, you can go to Amazon, and there's a documentary about Freddie Myers. So you can check that out too. This is what I love about F.E.D.S magazine, though. Just a 10-page interview. Just keeps going. They let these guys tell their story, and they're not held back by any editors or anything like that. I mean, the guy who makes this magazine, Antoine Clark, he's the editor, he's the photographer, the interviewer, he's everything. So he calls all the shots. One small gripe I have with this magazine is that there's no little symbol at the end of the articles. See this thing right here? This magazine doesn't have those. Sometimes they'll put the name of the person who wrote the article. Playboy will put the little bunny at the end. So just so you know it's the end of the article. In this, though, you're reading along 3-4 pages in, and then you turn the page and, oh, I guess that was the end of that. They've got a profile here of this basketball player named Alan Ray. Not Ray Allen, Alan Ray. Someone forgot to turn the flash on when they took the picture, but okay. So the guy works his ass off, doesn't get drafted by the NBA, and then after the draft he gets a call from the Boston Celtics and he gets a 2-year deal to play on their summer league. Now Alan Ray is on the Boston Celtics, the same team as Ray Allen. Alan Ray and Ray Allen on the same team. Actually, Ray Allen didn't join the Celtics until the following year, but whatever, don't ruin my damn jokes. Like my good friend Larry would say, that's some booty. I think it's debatable whether or not F.E.D.S glorifies crime, but I can tell you what they do glorify. Expensive shit. You got some new champagne coming out so you can pop some bottles. Here's a bunch of iced out watches that cost a fortune. No details, just the prices. Then you got some high-end sports cars. Again, no details about the car. No 0 to 60 horsepower, none of that bullshit. Just how much does this thing cost? I love this back page with the celebrities posing with the magazine. That's smart thinking. You know, you get invited to some event with a bunch of celebrities. You better believe me, I'm bringing a copy of my magazine and get some famous people to take pictures with it. There's some big names in here too. Then you got this girl who's just America's Next Top Model. I guess they forgot to get her name. It's pretty sad to see these. Got some RIP tributes. This dude's got the longest name I've ever seen. Kason Asiatic Universal a la Pinnock. Then you've got some missing kids in the back here. That's a great thing to do. This one will be tough. This kid was taken when they were 1 day old. You can't really do an age progression photo on a 1 day old kid. So that's it. That's F.E.D.S magazine in a nutshell. I highly recommend checking it out. I think I got this issue for about $8 or $9. So they can be found. There's a few sites that, other than eBay, that sell the back issues, so you can still track them down. As far as I know, it's not being printed anymore. The newest one I could find was from 2019. That was the 50th anniversary or 50th issue special. So there's 50 issues of this thing. And like I said, it's all one guy. I mean, there are contributing writers and different staff members and things like that, but for the most part, it's one guy. And this thing was started by him, and his office was in his car for like the first couple of years. So really cool, check it out. And you know, as always, like and subscribe and put some comments down below. Don't be shy, you know. If you hate it, you think I look like a goof, let me know. We'll talk some shit, we'll go back and forth. What are you gonna say about me? What, I'm bald? I look like shit? I know all these things, it doesn't matter. Okay, we'll fight in the comments. Give me some ideas for some magazines. What do you want to see? Like I said, I got a whole stack of these things, so I got a bunch more coming. All right, take it easy. Peace.